Hey, hey.
Good morning. Hope your Wednesday's off to a great start today. It's good to be back with you. We just have had a really good week so far, haven't we? Hope you've had a good week. We spent some time with friends. It's funny, we've had people reaching out and trying to get dinner dates and stuff, and we've had like a backlog of people that we've been trying to get with for a long time. And
finally been able to do that, so we're excited about
finally been able to do that with some of them, but we've still got like 3 or 4 people that were stacked into December. So just because of coaching clients coming in and a little bit of travel for me coming up, and our daughter's coming in today, which we are super amped about. Gonna get to spend some time with her. So let us know what you've been up to this week. If you're hopping on there, we'd love to know. And love to know, of course, where it is that you're listening from or where you're watching from. Got a little bit of real practical application today, don't we, love?
Yeah, we've been kind of looking at we've been panning back, looking at our life, trying to see where we can grow, where we can connect better. And we recognize that, life is, like for us, is really, really good. But we can also realize little things that can creep in and sabotage our relationship.
Yep.
And so what we realized recently is, man, our life was getting really crowded by a lot of activity. And Greg woke up one morning and said, that's it. We're booking a trip. We're going to go to Mexico. And the very next day we flew out. And what we realized is...
Because Mexico trips were like... They were giving them away at the time.
It was like $4.99 for 5 days, and flights were included. So it was all inclusive, and so it was a really great way to unplug. And what we realized is that there are a lot of things that can come into a relationship. We don't intend for them to, but those small little things that come in and sabotage us. And so today we just want to share 3 quick things. There's a lot of things we could share, but what we realize is there's some of those things that go unnoticed and may not be the ones that we would automatically recognize.
Look, life always comes back down to the fundamentals and how well we're really executing the fundamentals. So that's probably a good first takeaway for somebody this morning, is just we try to overcomplicate things sometimes. And when it comes to marriage maintenance and kind of following the 101s and making sure we're doing the right things, just out of respect, right? To communicate respect and to communicate love. Just a little bit of intentionality can go such a long way. So listen, we're going to lob them right over the plate to you this morning, nice and slow. These are easy. They are things that you can implement immediately, and they're not terribly overwhelming. It's just a little bit of consciousness and a little bit of intentionality to take you over the plate. What caused you to begin to think of this idea, love? What was it that, as you were pondering and we were discussing all of this stuff, you talked a little bit about how at one point we started on a fitness journey.
Yep.
And I think you more or less said that you kind of got off of that journey, which is also due to... I did
get off of that journey, yeah. Well, so here's the thing. We can want results, but if we're not intentional, we miss out on those results. And so we were in this great mode. We weren't eating, all the white things like potatoes and rice and pastas. And I happen to really love pasta and French fries. And so I got off track. I was off track for working out. I was off track for eating right. And it was just those little slow fades of, I'll just eat a French fry with this time. Or just eat an extra plate of mashed potatoes this time, and I have so much to do. I'm not going to go work out at the gym. And so the same thing happens in our relationship. When we don't pay attention, we can sabotage.
So here's what I understand about what it is that you're talking about, love. And y'all can relate to this if you think about it just a second. There's cornerstone or keystone habits, depending on who you talk to. I like to call them cornerstone habits because they're sort of the cornerstones that if you establish and you adhere to these basics, right, then a lot of other behaviors are affected as a result. So in this case, we got too busy. We had a lot of things going on, and you lost prioritization of going to the gym,
Yep.
right? When you stop going to the gym, what happens to your diet?
It goes out.
and a lot of other things actually, become second priority. It's interesting though, if you make it a habit of exercising regularly, how it affects your eating habits and such.
Yeah.
And so I think these things that we're going to talk about today, again, are sort of pillars, sort of cornerstone pieces. That if we can adhere to these things, it'll go a long way to communicating respect, love, and just.
So kick us off. What's one of the things that can sabotage us that we need to safeguard against?
I think we've been talking about it. I think one of the things that we struggle with, and I think many, many other people, in fact, almost every single couple that we're coaching right now privately says that they get too busy to do the things that really matter in life. They're the things that when our calendar gets so busy and so full, we have no margin. And here's the thing, we all understand and acknowledge that good's the enemy of great, but living with that understanding and allowing that to shape our decisions and what we say yes to, what we say no to, what we give ourselves to, and what we don't give ourselves to, sometimes really gets muddy, doesn't it? Because there's a lot of good opportunities out there that are very noble. And they seem very much so like they're the right thing to do until we find ourselves so crowded. And so, look, we're button up against the end of the year here. It is not over yet, but we're close to it. And so I want to encourage you to take some time to reflect on your schedule and what it is that you're given. What is it that's got you so busy anyway? And is it moving you closer to the life that you really want? Busyness will distract us from all of the really, really important things in life. And busy, we kind of, I think, especially here in America, you okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So here in America, I think we wear busyness like a badge, like, we're really important if we're busy. That business must be good and we must be really important if we're busy, right? And so somebody will even ask us, how you doing? Busy, What kind of response is that really? Have you thought about it? We have. And I don't want to answer busy because I don't want to be busy, quite honestly. I want to be effective.
Right.
And there's a big gap between being busy and actually being effective. So what is it that would make you more effective and most effective? What's most important to you? And what are those things that you need to begin to manage for again that seem to slip off of the plate because of all those other things and reprioritize?
So this week we want to encourage you to, a call to action for this particular thing is to look at your calendar. Where have you gotten too busy? Where have you gotten too overcomplicated? Where is it that margin for connection, that margin for replenishment has gotten crowded out? And choose one thing right now that you can schedule in for intentionality for your relationship, and one thing you can schedule out that has been diverting maybe either your energy, your mood, your friendship, relationship, or maybe some other people that you need to bring into that relationship to have some fun together. So what's one practical way that you can move towards letting your spouse know, look, you're my number one priority?
We've done a lot of work in this area recently, haven't we? Rearranged our schedule. Sometimes it seems like the right thing to do in servitude is to make sure that we're always available for people who need us. We do this terribly with clients or people that just want to have meetings and such. And we spend a lot of time kind of really reprioritizing our time so that we're not giving ourselves away to everybody else in the world. Because if we're just flapping our lips about how important this person in our life is, but we never actually do anything to demonstrate that they're a priority, we're in danger of doing that with our spouse, in danger of doing that with our kids, and all the people that really do matter and all the things that really do matter in our life a lot of times get pushed off. And so we just want to encourage you, like Julie said, review your schedule, reprioritize. It's the end of the year. You can begin to shape 2021 in a completely different way, I certainly hope, than 2020.
All right.
So this is a great place to start.
Number 2.
Bring it to me, girl. What you got?
Well, I think you should share this one. This is one that's like one of your favorites.
Well, whip it on me and then I'll expand
All
on it.
right.
What do you
So
got?
over familiarity breeds complacency.
Oh, yeah.
We so often can look or begin to look at our spouse as just another furnishing in our home. After 22 years of being together, we may fail to not prioritize and rediscover one another. And so one of the things that we want to safeguard against is too much familiarity, because when we're too familiar, we forget to discover. We forget to put our best foot forward. We forget to have fun and enjoy one another and really dive into discovering who it is that we are living with.
Somebody out there said, give me something I can chew on, Julie. I mean, like, really, give me something I can use. I'm going to tell you something. The simplest concepts are the ones that we dismiss. Oh, yeah, I know that. You know what I mean? But what we're asking you to do is to think about what we just said. You remember when you used to prioritize time and connection, when you used to really have fun discovering one another? I'm telling you, you can rebirth that in your marriage. Julie and I have rebirthed that in ours. We've been very intentional about it. And you need to be intentional about it. But here's the way it looks. You're dating. You put your best foot forward. Now, some of y'all been married a minute, okay? Because I saw some of your little bubbles pop up there as to who was watching. You've been married a minute or two, okay? I want you to think back of when you got married or when you first started dating and courting one another. You put your best foot forward. You didn't have a lot of expectations. Show up for the date on time. But even if they missed that and screwed it up, you probably had a lot of grace for it, didn't you? Today, or for many, not too long after they get the wedding ring, what happens is that we go from, your light went out, go from putting our best foot forward to kind of getting comfortable with one another again, right? And as we get comfortable, what Julie's talking about is comfort has a brother or a sister, depending on how you want to say it, it's complacency. There's no growth inside of the comfort zone. There never is. There's not a lot of good stuff, actually. We like to try to snuggle up to comfort, but it's a kiss of death in a lot of ways, particularly in a relationship. And so there's a good part of comfort, so don't let me dismiss that, you know. I love that we can just be ourselves. I love that I can have an off day and that you don't kick me while I'm down. So when your spouse has a bad day or an off day, don't kick them while they're down. It's so tempting to do that, isn't it? I mean, it's tempting for me to do that sometimes. She's sideways. She's not acting like I think she ought to, you know, and she ticks me off. And I want to know, what the heck's wrong with you anyhow, woman? Right? And there goes the vortex that leads us in a bad place.
Well, you know, and the other thing about familiarity, sometimes it lends us to say things that we would never dare say to somebody else. And so I think about that in our conversations. It's like, would I ever really do that to somebody or say that to somebody else?
Great point.
And so it's a good checkpoint to, have I become too familiar? Am I becoming complacent in the way that I speak to and about Greg, and vice versa?
It's a very easy thing. Listen, we all fall prey to it from time to time. What we're encouraging you to do, again, is just with a little bit of intentionality, you can begin to treat your spouse as though you're still trying to get to know them and you're still trying to impress them. Play a little mind game with yourself if that's what you need to do.
So think about the last 48 hours, and maybe you've blown it. Maybe you haven't spoken nice words. So we want to encourage you, if you've blown it, apologize, and then also look for ways to not just not blow it, but to move forward. Maybe notes of affection, ways to flirt with your spouse, and begin to be very intentional to not be too familiar. Enjoy the familiarity, but not the too much familiarity.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
All right, let's make this real.
All right.
Like, first of all, are you irritated with me this morning?
No, I'm irritated with this lighting. I'm irritated that I've got shadows all over my face. So
it's just a Facebook Live.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
But I look like I've got like these. Yeah, so I'm just looking at my reflection. It's really
You're
not
silly.
good.
You're
so
gorgeous.
Thanks for bringing that up on.
No, it's all
right
good.
here,
You know
right
what?
now.
Sometimes you just got to check and make sure you're not crashing the train and you didn't even realize it, because that happens sometimes. What is it that I can do that would better communicate, or what is it that I have done that communicates connection?
I love when you ask me questions about what I think. I love when you think, or you ask me, because I spend so much time asking other people questions. And so that's how I discover people. It's my love language. And so often it feels like I'm the one who's asking the questions. I'm the one who's discovering. And I can get in a negative mindset in my mind. It's like, would somebody just flip and ask me a question?
Yeah.
I want to be discovered. I want somebody to want to know what I think. And because of my personality, I don't interrupt. I'll just listen and I'll pause.
Good.
Yeah.
I love that.
And you do good at that.
I do sometimes, but here's the thing. If you know me, I'm a talker. You know, I like to talk, and I like to discover other people as well. But I just, you know,
I get uncomfortable if we're talking too much.
It's an exchange for me, and you do get uncomfortable with it. But
I'll
value.
tap his leg, and I'm like, I want to ask a question to people.
Yeah, she does. She does. So yeah. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Anyway,
Uh-oh.
no, really.
Well, what can I do to communicate and not?
Well, I want to finish that piece of all I wanted to say is that I love your thoughts. Like, and one of the things, just listen, this is for free. We didn't even plan to talk about this, but it's good stuff, I think, if you'll listen in. I notice that a lot of times, because I am a very independent thinker and I have a reason for everything that I do. I may not consciously know what that reason is, but if you ask me, I can tell you what it is, because there really is. It's just the way that my mind is wired. I have a purpose for everything. And so if I begin processing a decision or something that we're going to do or something that I'm going to do or whatever, sometimes I forget to ask your opinion. Or sometimes if you give your opinion or your thoughts, then I invalidate them, legitimately. And so in the last, 6 months or so,
Yeah, you've
I would
really
say.
worked on that, I think.
I really have. And what's awesome is I'm so much better for it. So somebody needed to probably hear that this morning. I just want to encourage you to engage your spouse. Do what Julie talked about. Ask your spouse questions. She does a great job. If you've had a conversation with Julie, she asks a lot of questions because she really wants the spotlight to be on you rather than her. She's more comfortable in that space, actually. So
more comfortable. Anyways, all right. So third and final tip from our point of view. By the way, join Brandon and Melissa because they're going to expound on this on Friday.
Yeah, Friday at 10 a.m.
I think they do it at 10 a.m. as well. Yeah. So
You can check the schedule. It's in Married for a Purpose.
Yeah,
page.
so Friday at 10 a.m. But the third one, and I think it's like so overtly obvious, and yet we can miss it if we don't pay attention. I think one of the top 3 sabotagers to a marriage relationship is technology.
Oh, yeah, it is.
It is the flippin' TV. It is the constant phone. Sometimes I get frustrated because we'll be having our morning devotions and I purposely put my phone behind, so I'm telling on you. Sorry. But the phone's behind me because I don't want to see it. And he'll say, did somebody text you? And I'm like, I really don't know if somebody texts me. I'm trying to engage with you.
So her phone charger, it's like being in a sports bar, right? Like the worst place, unless you're just into sports together. And if you are, that's great because y'all enjoy that. But her phone sits on a stand because her phone charger is actually on a stand. And though it's right behind her head, it's right in my direct line of sight. So it's just like something pops up on the TV.
I'm like in the middle of a conversation. He's like,
who texted you?
Who texted you? I'm like, I really don't know. I've been texted. So now we'll have to turn the phone.
So I was going to say, so could you just turn it around?
I'll just turn it around.
If you would, it would help me.
Otherwise, we might have no, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Well.
But technology, it interrupts when you don't want it to, right? Even when you're intending. It's the phone, it's the email, it's the TV screen.
Yeah,
it's like, if we could just have like maybe a no phone zone. And I think this is a great practice for families as well. Just a no phone zone or a certain time at night where we shut off all the electronics, right?
And we do this periodically, but I'll be honest with you, we really need to do a better job, don't we?
We slip right back into it, kind of like really eating French fries if we're not careful.
So I think all of us could use a break of turn the flipping media off, I would say literally all kinds of
Not right
media.
now, though, not during the Facebook Live. At 10 o'clock, always keep your media on. No,
10 a.m., right, Eastern time, that is. Anyway, I think it's a good reminder, though, for all of us to maybe be a little bit more intentional about our media consumption. That's social media, it's television media, it's media in every single form that we're talking. Anything that distracts you from the things that really do matter, and or listen to me, the things that you might actually do something about or not do something about. Check it out. Whether you like the election results thus far or whether you don't like the election results, the bottom line, if you went to the polls and you made your vote, you did your job.
Right.
Unless you're an attorney that's involved with a lawsuit and all that good stuff. The rest of it, you know what I mean? Let it kind of unfold and don't preoccupy yourself with it. Maybe, I wonder what could be gained from all of us if we just took maybe a 3-day fast from all of it. All of it. And
intentionally connect and
Exactly.
love on our kids and love on one another and spread hope to people in the grocery store and spread hope in the restaurants.
And the other thing that I was going to add as we're wrapping up here is be intentional about the media that you do take in.
That's good, love.
If we're having an off day or we're a little sideways, man, I'll put on some Joel Osteen or Robert Morrison or it's Morris, isn't it?
Morse.
More. I can't remember now. Anyway,
Gateway Church.
I confused
Yeah.
myself. Or Todd and Julie Mullins here locally at
Yeah.
Christ Fellowship
Yep.
Church, and we feed our spirits with things that we know that will encourage us, right, and speak life. And so as we dial in, as Julie and I have taken the time to really be intentional to dial these things in and have honest dialogue about it as well, you know. Are you a slave to your phone? I mean, think about it. No matter what you're doing, when it bzzz, or when it dings or when it does whatever, are you trained as a slave would be to be like, you know, I got to be honest with you, I am. I am, and I really want to break that. And the best way that I know how to break it is not to silence it, but turn it to flip off. It is amazing when I do that, how the world continues to spin and that big orange ball pops up every single morning. In other words, the sun rises every
Yeah.
single day, no matter if I answered that call. Take a couple of hour block, agree as a family, set the protocols, manage your own self. Don't try to manage your spouse. But if y'all can come together and make some agreements about what you're going to do, then I think it'll really help you have time for meaningful conversation. Read a book together.
Yeah, that's
you
so
know?
good. So, hey, we'd love to know your best practices. We're all in this thing together. You're watching because you want your relationship to be stronger. So, no doubt, you've got some great best practices. We need it. So, why don't you share your thoughts as far as like the things that you do, the things you safeguard against, the things that you manage for in your relationship that causes greater connection. We'd love to be able to know what those are.
Yeah, and share them forward. Yep, by all means. This is meant to be interactive. So we appreciate y'all tuning in. Listen, don't forget on Friday, check the Married for a Purpose page there, and you'll see the schedule. I think they
do 10 o'clock.
do. Is
They
it
do
10 or
10.
12? Okay, 10 a.m. I believe Friday mornings, Eastern time, 10 a.m. Brandon and Melissa, you don't want to miss, because I'm going to tell you they do such a great job expanding on, you know, the topics. In fact, a lot of times they're the ones who submitted the topics that we should be talking
Yep.
about to begin with. And I just love, even though we teach the initial one, like I love hearing what they have to say, because
They
I always have
up-level.
to
It's like
they
really
do
good,
up level
yeah.
it. They really do. So be sure and tune into them. You're going to be hearing a lot more from Brandon and Melissa Miller. And if you don't know them, get to know them. You're going to hear a lot more from them on this channel and in all different funnels of what it is that we're doing moving forward. They've got a lot of great wisdom to be able to share. And I love their creativity and just their energy together.
Yeah.
Two great people.
Yep.
Listen, if you need some coaching for your marriage, you need some marriage tips, look us up on marriedforapurpose.com. We'd love to be able to help you any way we can. We do private coaching, both one-on-one via the telephone.
Yeah.
We've got lots of different programs that are available to you, lots of freemiums, lots of free stuff that's out there for you if you go to the site again, marriedforapurpose.com. And also, we do a lot of private retreats, you know, where marriage has had a few things to contend with in 2020, like we all have in so many different categories. And if you need a reboot weekend, we got your back. We really do. We've got a marriage reboot weekend that we spend 2 days one-on-one with you and your spouse, and really, really show you and teach you and help you discover how to move forward to live in full bore into the life that God really already has for you, and to live purpose-focused rather than problem-focused. Be able to have connection and unity in your marriage. That was easy for me to say, right?
All right, so be sure to share your best practices before you sign off. We love you guys, and we'll catch you next week, Wednesday, 10 a.m.
Yes, ma'am.